So this is the plan I have covered for the next 25 minutes, 30 minutes. It's about, briefly about GETRAG, where we started, what was the situation once we started with Aras, a little bit about the implementation philosophy that we want to go for and that we did go for. Some words about applications supported by Aras, so that you can have a good understanding what we really do currently with Aras. More importantly, what we will do with Aras later on. A couple of things about success factors and where we want to go from now. Important to understand, the basic change of IT we need not only in the PLM area is due to the basic change GETRAG goes through, so this is something where we have to follow. This is definitely a situation where the IT has somehow to play catch up to the business. And I want to elaborate on many of the slides a little bit on why strategic partnerships, what is the reasons for that, what we expect from it. An overview over GETRAG. So we do transmissions, any transmissions that you want to have. The only thing is we are focused on cars. You can have manual, you can have hybrid, you can have dual clutch, you can have automatic, you can have them in the middle of the car, at the end, in the front, but it needs to be for cars. So this is the focus that we have. We are today definitely a technology leader. Sometimes when I discuss with Rolf Hüsemann about how can that be, looking at our PLM processes, about the systems that we have, so you can do some very good stuff with not so great processes, and that's what we have to learn. Because sometimes people take it the other way around and say, hey, you have great IT, everything else needs to be great. So that's not the point, we need to be clear about that. The last thing that I want to mention with this slide is, it says worldwide, our biggest production footprint already today is China. Our biggest market already today is China, and our biggest growth is going to come from China. And if you see these cars, whether they are from Great Wall or from Coros or from Dongfeng, these cars are quite similar to the ones we built. So the idea that the cars from there are somehow looking ugly or slow or bad is a wrong idea. We need to be aware about that. And this is especially helpful, I think, for German engineering. Because what you will see later on is we will also have global engineering. Just to give you a feeling, where are our transmissions in? So basically, they are in the majority of big car producers. Important to understand here is sometimes it's working to use one kind of transmission platform for several customers. In the most cases, it isn't. Very short slide about the size. So we are from 2013 a 3.2 billion euro company. We built almost 4 million transmissions, and we have around about 13,000 employees. Important for us to understand in IT, and especially in product lifecycle management, there is a dramatic growth, and it's not only planned, it's in orders. So we will be a 5 to 6 million transmission producer in 2017, 2018, and we'll be having more than 18,000 employees at this point in time. The thing we are struggling for, and I think this is true for a couple of IT departments, the growth needs to be covered by us without any impact on the costs, which is a hard job to do. And this can only be achieved via complexity reduction, hopefully partially, and we will talk about that later on too. I don't want to really bring you into the exact story of our legal structure. We have, as you see, 14 individual companies. That's not the key point. The key point is we have many joint ventures. Some of the joint ventures are absolutely operationally controlled by us, and some of the bigger joint ventures we have to adjust to the situation from the other owner. And for GETRAG Ford transmission sites, this means you have to adjust with Ford. This is our footprint from the locations, 23 locations worldwide. Important here is the key development powerhouses in Europe, mainly Germany, and in Asia, and that's going to be a real global process flow and global responsibility. And everything we need to do in IT needs to support really global product data management, global release management. Everything there cannot be done in one way in Germany and in another way in Nanchang or Wuhan or in our other locations over there. That was my brief view for you on what GETRAG does, what's the situation. And if we look at where we started, and I think I heard it in the presentations this morning, it's not so strange. Some different systems used, some different ways of using the systems. SAP applications at some point in time, other legacy applications that need to be somehow integrated or, let's say, at least interfaced. Rolf told me there have been pretty robust and thick papers about a PLM strategy. And unfortunately, like he stated here, never really implemented. The flexibility we had was pretty limited, and the cost of ownership were quite high, if not unclear. And I mean, I worked for other companies before, so this is not something strange. This is unfortunately especially what we have in this area quite often. And this is one thing where we can jump at strategic partnership. If you want to solve this issue, I'm deeply convinced you have in some key areas to establish key partnerships. You can go with 7 or 3 or 5 different suppliers and try to align them and try to align the resources behind them. You have to really establish that in a strong partnership. And the high pressure to provide tactical solutions is still there. It's not gone. And we just need to, and I say independent from the software tool, we just have to solve and we just have to deliver. That's something that I discuss quite often with the top management. Do we need a PLM system? Is it a thing of system? And I don't think it's a question of system. And I know a couple of them, and I'm sure you know much more than I know on Teamcenter or CAD systems or Aras or SAP PLM, to name a few. This is what I'm striving with. We need to do release management together with our 130 colleagues in Wuhan. Now, we need a solution for our problem now. And then you might call this product lifecycle management. You might be able to do a great specification. You might be able to really understand the same thing. And then you can really start in a partnership to build some solutions. So first things first, we need to understand the processes. We need to understand where we want to go. If you look at the expectations, and I think I heard that in some of the previous presentations too, we need to have a single source of truth. We need to support the day-by-day work of the engineers. We need to deliver results fast, and we really need to adapt to ongoing and changing requirements. That's what we all know. What I try to establish at GETRAG IT in the application department, I call it sometimes the 2 channels of delivery. There are some solutions for IT where you can really go with a robust, big partner, get the standard, customize it, and you're fine. And this might be a very good example for finance applications or HR applications or some other stuff. And then there is an area where you definitely need to be much more agile, where it's simply not allowed that you come up with a project plan that goes about 18 months or 24 months or even longer. You need to be much more agile. You need to be flexible. And the user communities and the functional things you have, the functional scopes, are rather small. And you'll see that at the examples I put here on later on. This is not a huge functionality. This is something that is really needed on the spot, that helps a lot. It is on a certain process or workflow, but in itself, it's not a big thing of 130,000 lines of code to get it done. So this is the 2 channels I want to establish, and for both channels, you need to have good strategic partnerships. And for the agile one, we are pretty convinced that we are on the right track with Aras. So, and I'll talk about that later on. Coming to, and also this is not a surprise, step-by-step implementations of the applications. Don't try to really go for huge things and then go live in big bangs and then everybody is disappointed. It took so long, it's not what they expected. We need to accept iterative loops, we need to accept corrections, we need to accept changes, and we need to be able to deliver something, I always say, within 3 to 6 weeks. And for some of my IT guys, this is quite a difficult assumption, a difficult picture in their heads. We definitely have, and I called it here evolutionary application implementation, we definitely have to go back and forth much more often and at the same time be faster than we were before. The good thing is, don't build anything or everything by yourself. Buy what you can get in a framework. A strategic partnership is absolutely necessary for you as well as for me in my company, that we tell Aras what we want to really have in this frame. What do we want to get from them? They were pretty good in analyzing that in the past, I think, but they might get even better if they have 5 or 6 strategic partnerships where we combine our industrial experience and say, hey, this is what is really needed. This is some organizational stuff where we struggle with continuously to really find a dedicated lead, a dedicated business owner that really is the one that decides in the end whether we go left with this one, whether we do release management in this way or another one. The role of IT is really to assure that the whole picture works. The whole picture can only work if we have a flexible pool of resources. This is another part of our partnership. We want to have a guaranteed access to development resources. I don't want to build that up completely internal. For sure you need internal know-how there. And I don't want to rely on the big companies that we all know, where you're lucky when you get a good one, but where the main intention of these people is to sell more and more and more. So this is why I called it here, let us be in the overall governance. And a key thing for us is that we really have a good understanding about platform. The platform is giving us a chance for speed in the sense of that we not replace everything we had. Some of the old things we have are fantastic. They are really great working. They don't really touch the user. They just work in the background. We want to integrate them rather than replace everything. And I think everybody who knows a little bit about the Aras platform understands that there is a certain likeliness that this is working quite fine with the Aras platform. The 2 pictures here on this slide, that should just show you what I mean with that. We have plenty of stuff going on. You don't have to read the details, but you see quite some boxes, quite some arrows. And what we want to go for is we really want to come to a framework where we integrate what is good and where we only replace what we don't like or where the user is dissatisfied. So that's basically the idea behind it. And I saw with the presentations early on, everybody has a quite mixed application world, a quite complex infrastructure underlying that. So this might be a way to really go forward. To give you a short view what we really do with Aras, and if there is some detailed question that Rolf and some of his colleagues are here, so you can really ask them, it's no big deal. Drawing management, this was the first application, 50 users in one location. We manage on AutoCAD files and do the no AutoCAD integration with that. We have the approval workflows, very, very relevant for us, used not only to replace Excel and email, but really to get these workflows running across Europe. And I like the word process bottlenecks. I believe all of you know them. I can tell you one in GETRAG, when we wanted to do this strategic partnership, Mr. Allemann almost went crazy because it was very difficult to convince somebody in controlling to do a commitment for the next 4 years. We have no budget yet approved for 2017, can you imagine? And we do something for the next 4 years. So there are process bottlenecks also in PLM, and this is really important. They were visible with these workflows. We use it for project budget calculation in the product development area, something where you might say, hey, that this has not a lot to do with PLM, but it's something that sits on the process. So as you see, it's used by product development, by sales and controlling. And I don't know the exact number of users, but it's not only a few. So people really appreciate that and take this. Another thing quite nearby, not to be expected, is our quality data handling. It's used in 5 locations by several hundred users. And it's really absolutely appreciated because it has an easy identification and tracking of issues. And that's for us one of the key benefits we need to have for that. Of course, CAD data management, Pro Engineer data, CADIA data. We will roll that out globally. We have some infrastructure jobs to do, especially in China. We have some security, access right things to fix. We're hoping for some help here from Aras. But I can say that Aras is a rock-solid part of my application landscape of GETRAG's functional offering. And as you can see, we grew from 50 to over 800 users. In the strategic partnership, there is quite a lot more users covered because we expect this base absolutely to grow. Let me spend a couple of minutes on some success factors. What is it really that you need to be successful? And we all know that, but I wanted to reflect on that with a strategic partnership. We started to build credibility by really delivering, by being faster than the user expected us to be, and by having a good response to our customers' users. Of course, you can do that with any software product, but I strongly believe if you go for the platform, for an agile platform, if you go with a strategic partnership, if you have the right setup between internal capacity, externally guaranteed capacity, and user involvement, you're much better off. I don't know how about in your company. In GETRAG, and the 1.5 years I'm with them, I can really say that they've faced difficulties on the user side to really write down what they want, to really do a good functional requirement specification. And now we can blame them and we can go away and we can teach them, or we can find a way that we, like it is said here, minimize the upfront specification effort without making the result the basis where we start our developments on poor or misleading. The learn as you go is something that is absolutely important for efficiency. If we do not accept that we don't know everything at the start, on our side as well as on the user side, we'll be misleading ourselves and implement what is really required versus what had been specified. Of course, that shows, this sentence also shows a little bit the personal attitude of Rolf and his team. So we have to understand, and that's how we play the game of business IT alignment. You need to give the user the chance to tell you something on IT topics, and they need to give us the chance to tell them something about business process topics. If we ignore each other or build up walls, it's not going to be agile per definition. I've talked about the in-house resources and the tool knowledge, and I've talked briefly a little bit about Aras flexibility. Definitely, we have a flexible data model, cannot be overappreciated, and it is, to my understanding, easy to customize, and it's pretty easy to get prototypes up and running. These are some real success factors, and I'd really like to spend the last minutes on where do we want to go from here. Definitely, we will roll out the Aras solutions and the new functionality that is going to be built in Aras globally. We'll build up a development center in China that is going to be up to 450 engineers, and they will sit on exactly the same solutions, hopefully working in the same processes than the ones in Europe. It sounds easy. It is currently not really solved. Data exchange. We need, whether it's bill of materials, whether it's drawings, whatever it is, for us it's not an easy thing today to change that between our legal entities or to exchange that between our legal entities in China and here. Whomever in the audience has a fantastically working, flourishing solution, I'd be happy if he tells me how he did it. And one thing is also clear, we will not have the exact kind of behavior and processes everywhere. So there will be some local customizations and applications. And we build that in, and we build that in our model of the strategic partnership. Without sarcasm, we are currently developing a PLM strategy. So we wrote in bracket again. Hopefully this time the business is really starting with its process models. Hopefully we are not overspecifying. We'll just go on in parallel and hope that what we do with Aras is fitting to any reasonable strategy later on, to be very open here. This is one of the key topics. With engineering development, the world for GETRAG doesn't stop. We're building these transmissions too. So we need to interface, we need to intertwine this with our ERP world. We're having some very interesting discussions at what point in time it's good to move from Aras to, in our case, also 2 ERP systems. One is from the Ford legacy world and one is SAP. But we are solving this task hopefully until the end of this year and really know where and how we want to interface. Some last words to the real strategic partnership. What is it? Here it states ensure continuity, long-term commitment from both sides, stable personal relationships. That's a fact, that's what we signed. But what it is much more, it is learning and teaching. We need to learn from Aras a lot of things about processes, software, platforms, project management, and they hopefully learn quite some stuff about what is really going on in the engineering industry, not only in Germany, but globally. So this is having an impact on each other from both sides. We have some very concrete functional enhancements that we need to get them. In a partnership, in a strategic partnership, our point of making pressure is much better than if it's just a customer that has subscribed. Definitely, and that's what I said in the start, we need to influence the Aras roadmap. We really want to have a big impact there. I know that Rolf and some of my former colleagues from Freudenberg are in contact. So if you have input for us, I think we can only have benefits from that if we really organize our community in a kind of network.